Thank you and welcome to the Cumberland County Commissioners meeting for February 10, 2020. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to invite all who wish to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 13 meeting.
So moved. If I could ask for an amendment to the minutes.
Okay.
Under 20-008, approval of establishment of the Regional Aid Reserve Policy.
I see that.
We had a motion to approve action item 20-008, approving the establishment of a Regional Aid Reserve Policy. If I could have, and the transfer of $27,000 into that account.
So add that to the title?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
The amendment.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Now on the main motion.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second it.
I had a motion and second already. Any further discussion about the minutes? Seeing none? Oh, yes.
I think just a clarification, the manager, didn't we ask the manager at some time to present us with an electronic signature option? I think that was in,
That was.
yeah, okay.
That was an item. Yep, that was noted.
Has that been left out of this, or?
I didn't see it in,
Oh,
as long as it gets handled.
Oh, am I allowed? If you look above the comments from the executive staff, it says Commissioner Stephen Gordon asked the manager if he could consider creating a policy whereas they will use electronic signatures.
there you go. Is that sufficient for your purposes,
That's
Steve?
fine.
Okay. All right, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. I gather there are no informational reports or presentations this time. Okay, at this time I would open the floor to comments from the public about whatever topic you would like, and with the only requirement is a limit of 3 minutes.
And name.
And name and address, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening. My name is Eric Sawyer. I'm a Freeport resident. I'm an emergency manager, and I hold 3 professional emergency management certifications. I have been involved in emergency management for over 13 years. I recently applied and interviewed for the training and exercise coordinator position at EMA. I was ultimately offered the position, but had to turn it down because the compensation was not competitive. I was looking forward to applying my knowledge and skills to emergency management activities here in Cumberland County, where ultimately those who live, work, and play make it a great county. The EMA training and exercise coordinator is not an entry-level position. It requires years of formal education, training, and experience. This position is classified by Cumberland County HR in the general government category, and it really should be classified under professional technical category, as it requires skills such as program management, technical writing, and engagement with stakeholders from nonprofit, government, and corporate partners. The pay range for the EMA training and exercise program coordinator, as outlined in the Cumberland County budget and position classification plan, is grade 6, which has an hourly range ranging from $19.64 to $26 per hour. Yet the advertised rate for this position was a firm, virtually non-negotiable $21 per hour, perhaps reflecting the lack of value that Cumberland County places on the EMA training and exercise coordinator. Cumberland County recently advertised for a maintenance position, maintenance technician, and the entire range in grade 6, up to $26.74, was listed in the job posting. There is presently a position within Cumberland County's position classification plan which would adequately compensate a candidate filling the emergency management training and exercise program coordinator role, and that is the grade 9 emergency management program coordinator. In their own words, the Cumberland County HR department, quote, seeks to recruit and retain the best employees, end quote, and Cumberland County offers an excellent and comprehensive benefits package and is proud of its talented and dedicated workforce, end quote. Presumably, all 3 candidates turned down the position at EMA because the posting was recently relisted. Time involved to recruit qualified candidates, conduct interviews, and discuss offers is now being duplicated. I can't speak for them, but it is almost certain that the other 2 candidates turned down the position because of the low compensation. It is time to revisit the wages and classification for this and other emergency management positions. I don't know when the last wage study was completed, but the old data and wages are costing Cumberland County and resulting in loss of talented candidates, duplication of effort, both of which have financial implications. The job posting and description for this position are seeking a professional candidate, yet the pay is reflective of a generalist. I urge this body to put pressure on the executive and human resources departments to review compensation. Best employees have a combination of traits, experience, and an often sought-after work history, and a compensation should reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll close public comments. Any comments from commissioners at this point? No?
No.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. We'll certainly keep that in mind. All right, the next is the consent agenda. Barb, do we usually have you read the titles, or is that
I have a
going on?
couple times, and I'd be glad to.
Okay, if you could just read the numbers and titles of those, just so people
Sure.
watching at home and sometime in the future will know what we are talking
Okay.
about.
Item 20-012, approval of the Cumberland County Emergency Communications Service contract with the town of Cumberland from July 1st, 2020 to June 20th, 2023. Should be, excuse me, I think June 30th. Item 2013, approval of the Cumberland County Emergency Communications Service contract with the town of New Gloucester from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2022. Item 21014, approval of the Sheriff's Office commissions for February 2020.
Move passage. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is action item 20-015, award bid to Radio Communications Management, Inc. of Portland, Maine for the replacement of the county's primary and secondary microwave system. Mr. Gailey.
Thank you. Back in the fall of 2019, we had a workshop with the county commissioners outlining our needs for upgrades to the Cumberland County Regional Communication Center's infrastructure. There were 3 different areas that we needed to modify. The first was the primary microwave, the second being the secondary microwave, and then the third was the radio system itself. The primary microwave came with a price tag of just under $208,000, as the secondary microwave was just over $82,000, and the radio system was just over $424,000, for a total project of $714,286. There were some things that needed to be done a little bit more urgent than others. In particular, the primary and secondary microwaves, their maintenance arrangements had ended in December of 2019. And it was suggested that we pursue this project in 2020 if we were going to do anything of the total project. We are okay as we go through 2020. But the vendor recommended us not going past 2020 with the existing microwaves because they're just at the end of their useful life. The radio system upgrade, that is something that still has a couple more years under the useful life and could go out, I think, until 2022. So the recommendation brought forth to the commissioners that evening was that we explore revamping our microwave system, both primary and secondary, but plan for the future for the radio system upgrade, kind of splitting the overall project cost in half and pursuing in 2 different phases. The commissioners were willing to do that, and we also talked about sole source bidding, that we needed to stay with our current vendor, as the current vendor was a long-time vendor and knows our system quite well. It was the belief that if we went out to bid, we'd see increased pricing due to the incremental or the accessory costs associated with bidding an item such as this. The commissioners, again, were okay with using our sole source language within the admin regs that currently exist. So it is, at this time, actually, I need to address one more thing, and that was how to fund it. As we were talking about this back in October, which was somewhat in the middle of our budget process, and not really a lot of wiggle room to sneak in $290,000 of new costs into the budget. It was a discussion that we had with the commissioners that because of such a small, in comparison, amount to go out to bond for ourselves, that we would go through the main bond bank. In the main bond bank, we would fill out an application, get on their list of approved recipients of the bond that they pull every March, and fund it that way. So in turn, the commissioners, through the authorization of the 2020 budget, had inserted $35,000 a year over the next 10 years to cover the principal and interest through the main bond bank for this work. And so this is the first step of 2 motions that will be made. There will be another item next, which is the authorization to go to the main bond bank. But in this motion, I'm asking for the commissioners the award, the replacement of the primary and secondary microwave system to Radio Communications Management, Inc. of Portland, Maine, in the amount of $290,194, while waiving administrative regulation number 5, procurement policy number 9D, allowing a sole source bid. So I'm here to answer any questions that the commissioners may have. Thank you.
Commissioners, questions?
No, I'm all set.
Seeing none, can we have a motion?
I move, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the project of replacing our primary and secondary microwave, award the contract to Radio Communications Management, Inc., authorize the county manager to expend such sums up to $290,194.
Second. I think we need to have a waiver of our administrative regulation in that as well, if you would mind.
And
What's the language here?
while waiving an administrative regulation number 5 procurement policy, 9D, allowing a sole source bid.
Motion, did I have a second? Jim was second. And Jim seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, next is, let's see, item 20-016, authorization of Cumberland County's application to the main bond bank for the radio microwave program. Jim, back to you.
I am going to pass the torch over to Alex on this to present, as he is taking the lead on the application and working with the main bond bank to secure the funding.
And Jim's done 90% of the description there. This is an interesting one in that, unlike our other issuances where the timeline between your authorization and us actually going out to the bond is a fairly short window, I just need your authorization for me to complete the application for proceeds which won't actually be distributed until May. But with the main bond bank, we get in the application, they review the application in March, they do their ratings in April, and actually do it out in April. So it's just a longer window. All I'm looking for is a motion from you folks to authorize the county manager to submit the application in the amount of $290,194 for the purposes of microwave replacement.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good catch,
That
everything
passes
but that.
unanimously. Thanks very much. Next is 20-017, authorizing county treasurer to refinance the 2012 general obligation bond for the Cross Insurance Arena and County Capital. Jim?
Again, this is in the scope of Alex. Alex has been doing a lot of work on this over the last 2 weeks, and so I will let him present it to you.
Okay, third time's the charm here, folks. We've mentioned this a few times before, how when the 2012 bond issuance was done, in the amount of $35 million, it was done as non-taxable bonds at a rate that at the time was quite good. Since then, a couple of things have occurred. One is there's been some definite reasons why us switching these bonds from non-taxable to taxable, if we could find some way to do it without it costing us money, would certainly be advantageous and possibly save headaches down the road. I won't get into the details too much, other than essentially if one vendor is using the arena too much, it eventually can cause issues. We're not having that issue now, but if some brand new sport that nobody's thought of yet suddenly becomes the most popular thing ever, and the Cross Insurance Arena is selling out for 70 dates a year, and all of that money goes towards that vendor, that would cause us problems. If I had the slightest idea what such a sport could be, I wouldn't be sitting here, I'd be investing in that sport. But it could happen. We have to plan for the 15 years out future here. So that's part number one. Part number two is the crazy thing that has occurred is that the rate for taxable borrowing has gone so low that it is actually a cost savings now for us to go out and reissue this bond as a taxable bond issuance rather than a non-taxable. And when I say third time's the charm for everyone here, this first came to us back in September when the rates dipped the first time. Before we could get any traction on this, they went back up again. In October, it happened again, and the rates went right back up again. What's occurred since October, though, and I actually printed this out if anyone wants to take a look at it. The rates went back up to where we weren't really saving any money in October, but they didn't go past that. And then they started to gradually decline again, leading to us to what's occurred in the last 2 weeks. And without going into too much details, yes, global events have caused the yield on these kind of investments to go down, and they're staying down. And so we are taking advantage of these very low rates to start this ball rolling to go on from there. The rates that we were given and the amount of savings we were given over the life of the bond, it's worth saying this, are the same now as they were 2 weeks ago. And they're estimating at this moment in time, over the next 15 years, that could be a savings in the tune of $800,000. Could that be gone by the time this 3 weeks from now shows up and we actually go out to bid? Yes, it's possible. But this is something where if we don't try and if we don't go down this path, we're not doing our due diligence. Because right now, as things currently stand, it's worth doing. What I have in front of you is the updated financial statement, POS, which you all folks have all been looking through. I will ask that you folks or somebody read out the resolution that I'll pass it to whoever who's got it here, authorizing us. Obviously, you can do it as written, doing it. Yes, we're doing this all very quickly for a reason. We have to capitalize this on this while we've got the rates we do. Did I miss anything there, Jim?
The only thing I think that you missed, Alex, is one of the reasons why we think this move to go to the private side is that federal regulation over the last couple of years changed and does not allow public general obligations bonds to be refinanced anymore. And so if we're going to refinance this bond to get it down to a lesser interest rate, only the private side is the allowable track for us to take. And so that was one of the reasons why we were looking on the private side, in addition to the reasons why Alex just mentioned.
And this would let us take advantage of that team now, too.
Exactly. So whenever we come up with that future sport
I hear
that rakes in giant sums of money, then yes, we would not have ourselves a problem with the SEC.
No prepayment penalty, right, if we have large amounts of money?
What is interesting is we are doing this, technically speaking, before the bonds themselves are callable, but we are doing it within the window where we can hold a couple of years of this in escrow without getting into the details of it.
Sure.
It works out. So yeah, that's been,
Okay. Any other questions or discussions? I mean,
I have a question.
yes.
We can authorize this tonight. If we get out 3 weeks and we don't like the looks of things, will this authorization carry forward until we do, or are we all right?
it's good for 90 days.
So, okay, that answers my question.
Okay.
And again, that's why I was, and I think you were looking at the same thing, like, it's not like it's bouncing all the way back. There is a long-term trend going on here. In the short term, it's going as low as possible, but
Okay.
Make the chairman read this.
I agree. Do I get to make the motion?
you can do it as written.
What, just say as written, or you want me to read it?
If we want to go formal, you can knock out your vocal cords.
Okay, I am making a motion as written, entitled Resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Cumberland County, Maine, authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $27,580,000 of 2020 general obligation refunding bonds federally taxable. And I hereby incorporate the rest of this document into my motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think that passes unanimously.
Thank you all.
Alex, thank you for all your work
Yeah,
putting
oh
it
my
together,
goodness,
and
Do you
Jim,
want
too.
my,
Well, the numbers involved are just staggering, quite honestly, the savings for the,
Yeah,
no commission on them, unfortunately. Yeah.
the savings,
for us.
the savings. Now, do we need to eventually
You
sign
need
our?
to sign that, so don't let that front page go
We
floating
all,
away.
each of us.
Have to carefully read the prospectus.
Well, I did.
Yes. I could tell that that's what you were doing.
And very close.
Did these go to Barbara, I guess?
That way?
I was at the city
Okay,
of
there you go.
Portland.
All right.
Once we had
Okay.
pension debt, we dropped the interest rate by 5%.
So we did that.
What was that?
Okay, now, excuse me. Next item is 20-018, authorizing the county manager to transfer 2019 year-end fund balance to 2020 to cover capital projects. Mr. Gailey.
Thank you. Annually, over the last 3 years, I have presented a similar memo to like what's before you this evening to the commissioners, requesting the ability to transfer over year-end savings from the previous year into the new year. Because many times we start our budget process so far in advance, really July, and it goes to the commissioners in September, and then it's on the road to the finance committee, and so there is very little opportunity to really insert any good-sized projects, though we did the microwave at the last minute, but to really put any good-sized chunks of money into the budget at the last minute. And it's been one of those things that by carrying over some year-end surplus but through an approval of the commissioners into the new year allows us to not lose any ground and not wait until July, August of this year to put it in the budget that will be ultimately approved in December of this year and money available in January of next year. So what I have done is we have some hot button items that need to be addressed sooner than later. And I thought to bring forward the request, as I have in the last couple of years, to the commissioners. Some of the projects include amending our pay plan, which we've been talking about for some time, but we did not do in 2019. Hence, the money did not carry over. We have jail camera Windows 7 conversion. As many of you may know, the Windows 7 is no longer a supported platform under the Microsoft program, so we need to change out the servers that handle the jail cameras. I think there's somewhere in the vicinity of about 150, 155 cameras that get recorded to these servers. We have legal fees that we have some ongoing issues going that bled over from 2019 into 2020. We have jail Windows 7 computers. These are some of the computers that the jail operates the systems off down at the jail. We have a county broadband initiative that is kind of following the commissioner's goal priorities of this past year and exploring ways of funding broadband and different improvements throughout the county in terms of broadband service. We had a parking garage firewall software expire on us in December, and it was caught late. And so we need to change that out. And then to get us through the rest of the year, I've added $25,000 in there for miscellaneous expenditures for anything that pops up over the next 6 or 7 months as we work through our budget. For those of you who might have interest, our current reserve that we typically put this money in, which is the strategic planning reserve, currently has a balance of $1,800. So it is bled pretty dry. And so I'm asking for the infusion of this money, this $559,000, to cover these projects and to bring a little bit of life back into that strategic planning reserve. Thank you.
Discussion, questions?
Move passage.
Steve?
Yeah, the last item.
I'll second it for,
Okay.
excuse me, conversation purposes.
Sure,
Sorry.
go ahead, Steve.
Jim's last item there about monies that were available, I'd like the commission to have a discussion on the fund balance, the amount that we have. It appears to me that if we're only having 30 days worth of dollars available, then perhaps we should be looking at something larger than that. But as I say, I would like to have that as a discussion item for the future.
Sure, I think we could put that on an agenda, possibly even a workshop to do that, to have that discussion at some future
Certainly.
future point.
You know, one of the things that's made that tricky over the years is if you go back to, say, 2008, we had just one fund balance that was the county as a whole. Then in 2009, the jail got split out, and it became very murky as to exactly how we should be calculating our fund balance. Do we incorporate the jail back in? Do we ignore the jail? It's a huge chunk of the amount, and my personal take is, yes, we should start incorporating the jail, but when we do that, it, causes that fund balance number to be possibly lower than we might otherwise want it to be. And so that's something we should all just talk through, where that goes.
Can I ask what the status of the Civic Center operations is in that calculation?
Because it is truly an enterprise fund, it would not factor into the general fund balance, because in the technical manner of it, it's an enterprise fund, which would be separate from the general fund. The jail fund is almost like it's a secondary general fund. It's sort of in this no man's land. But the cross-insurance arena, because any operating loss we cover, always sits at a zero balance anyways. So it wouldn't be a positive or a negative in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's right, but that's time for the discussion.
We can certainly debate the
discussion.
Yeah. I think that's something we need to talk about.
Right.
Steve, you?
No, I just wanted to say that I think Jim's added a broadness to the discussion that we should have.
Yeah. it would be nice to, now that we're not in the throes of budgeting, to pull that apart and see if we can make some sense out of it. So I think that makes sense. We can add that to a future meeting. All right, we have a motion to approve, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And then we have item number 20-019, amending the county commissioner bylaws dated December 2011, first reading. Mr. Gailey.
Thank you. As back in December, the county commissioners formally authorized staff to begin the process of notifying the towns within Cumberland County of our desires to move our budget year from a calendar year to a fiscal year, July to June. Very similar to the majority of the towns within the county. By doing that, we need to amend the commissioner bylaws. The charter makes reference to the budget year, but gives the bylaws the authority to be amended to go from a January to December to a July to June. And so I brought forward Chapter 5, Finance, Section 5.2, which states fiscal year. The fiscal year of the county shall be January 1st to December 31st. This is in the county commissioner bylaws. This needs to be amended, and my suggested amendment is County Commissioner Bylaws, Chapter 5, Finance, Section 5.2, states fiscal year. The fiscal year of the county shall be July 1st to June 30th, striking out January 1st to December 31st. In addition, I thought it would be worthwhile to put some language in there around transition. The transition year is January 1st, 2021. The creation of a 6-month budget for January 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2021. Subsequently, a 12-month budget will be created covering July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. The 6-month budget will be prorated over 1 to 5 years, depending upon the wishes of individual municipalities. The prorated budget will be included in the annual fiscal year warrant until such time the 6-month budget is fully funded. So that is the proposed amendment to the bylaws. The bylaws do take 2 readings for formal amendment. I'd ask the commissioners to approve first reading this evening and set March 9th, 2020 as second reading and final action. Thank you.
All right, questions?
Will there be a public hearing on March 9th on
Yes.
this item? So I move that be considered that first reading of the proposed bylaw amendment has been made, and that public hearing and final action be scheduled for March 9.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments? Steve?
Comment, this is a little bit off the field, but that caused me to go back to something that I remember in the charter. Item 7.3 in the charter says codification. Every 10 years, the governing documents shall be codified. Bylaws are one of them, so I think we're in the 10th year.
So we have yet another item we need to.
Well, I just make the comment.
This just means to bring it up to date with all the stuff that we've passed, right? That's yeah. Okay, so
Another workshop topic.
yeah, add that to our list. Add that to our list of projects for the year, along with changing our fiscal year and all the other things we're going to do. Okay, no, that's well spotted, I would say. Any further discussion on this particular item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We are a very agreeable bunch tonight. Is there any old business? I don't see anything on the agenda. Seeing none, is there new business? Seeing no new business. Comments from the county manager.
Thank you. Really, the only comment that I have is just notifying the county commissioners, if you haven't read it already, the February 2020 Cruise News went out today. The Cruise News is kind of the internal newsletter that we send out for employees. In that Cruise News, I always have a little write-up, and one of the things, my topic this month was the vacancies that we've had in county government. Really, no department has been unimpacted, and it is common. I call it wallpaper in my memo here. That when I walk out of the HR office every day, I see the wallpaper of vacancies that we have. And it never seems to go down. And so HR has been doing a lot of work around going out to job fairs. I think they've hit every job fair from Augusta down that's existed over the last 6 or 8 months, and has signed up for a number of them over the next 3 to 4 months. We're still getting ads out into the periodicals, the trade magazines, the newspapers, the search engines. But one of the things that I address here in my my little memo is some of our best cheerleaders are our own employees. And with an organization that has over 400 employees, one would think that if we're able to pass the word off to our relatives, to our friends, maybe it might trickle through some families, but maybe there may be an indication that there's some great jobs open here in county government. And to incentivize employees to have that discussion at home or in their friend circles, I have increased for a set number of months the referral bonus that we give employees. For positions in departments other than the jail, we give the employees currently a $200 referral bonus. I'm increasing that referral bonus up to $800 for filling positions. For a jail position, the current bonus is $600. I'm increasing that to $1,200 because we need to start focusing on filling these positions. We are having too many positions lag, and we have too many vacancies, in particular the jail, that we need to backfill, and we need to make that a priority. And so if there's a way of infusing some incentive with our employees to have these discussions at home or with their friends, so be it. I'm willing to pay for it because in the long run it's going to save us money by filling these positions, because right now there's a lot of overtime that we're paying in certain departments to cover the roles of the vacancies that we have. So that concludes my communications, but I just wanted to bring that to light with all of you this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. The Finance Director, Alex.
Just a few more things. So at this point in time, all employees should have received their W-2s. If not, please let us know. 1099s are also out for any of the contractors. The 1095C forms should be out in the next week or so. And then we'll turn our attention to the audit. That's my stuff.
Human Resource.
Good. I'd like to echo what County Manager Daley said. The Cumberland County is now hiring for a number of positions. Notably, corrections officers would be at the top of the list. And to add on to what County Manager Daley said, we also are aware of some of the businesses that are having layoffs and are maybe closing down. We received word over the weekend from employees of a business in Biddeford who is closing down, or close to 300 employees. So we will be reaching out to their HR staff to see if there's a way maybe we could send a team down there to meet with any interested employees to fill vacancies, and the same with LL Bean. We heard that they're laying off 200 people. So we really are beating the bushes. So we've got a good team out there, and we're trying to put our best foot forward. But there's a number of positions that we're hiring for. Anybody interested should go to the Cumberland County website, Human Resources, or the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office, or please give me a call at 775-6809. We'd be happy to answer any questions. The other thing I have to report is our new Lead Supervisor Training Series, which stands for Leadership, Engagement, and Development. This month's training topic is skills for supervisors in motivating and coaching your employees. Our first month's topic was sexual harassment and other unlawful forms of harassment, which we had 52 supervisors attend, as well as 3 employees from the town of Casco, which is part of our regional HR initiative. So we're very proud of that and pleased with how things are moving forward. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Don. Mr. Kennedy, can you give us an update on what you've been up to?
Sure. This is, I can give you a preview of something that we've just started to look into, and hopefully by the time we meet again, we'll have a lot more information. But about 1.5 years ago, the county looked into whether it may make sense for us to invest in solar energy at some of our facilities, in particular the cross insurance arena. We met with a contractor who did sort of an engineering markup, both at the CIA and the jail facility, and gave us some options that were certainly compelling. There's definitely an environmental benefit to taking a large amount of electricity that we're producing off the grid, but we were also concerned about the financial impact. And at the time, there was a financial gain to be had a ways down the road. As you probably heard last year, the legislature has passed and the governor has signed new laws that dramatically improve the financial perspective of the county investing in a solar project, in particular at the cross insurance arena. In the past, it had been sort of an initial increase in costs and a long-term gain. It now looks like we could potentially invest in a project that would reduce our overall energy price right away with no upfront costs, and then of course significantly reduce our energy costs in the long run by entering in a power purchasing agreement with an installer. What the state did is that they have changed the law to account for commercial customers that have heavy load time demand. In the past, the reimbursement was based on a standard offer, which wouldn't do us much good with the cross insurance arena, where we have huge events. We have an enormous power draw, and that becomes sort of our base rate. So the state has now allowed for reimbursing businesses that have those higher load demands that set a higher base rate than average customers. So it now makes it financially viable for commercial entities like it had been for residential ones, especially as the cost of the equipment decreases. So we're looking at a couple of options that may work out nicely for us. We have to get up on the roof and make sure that there is nothing getting in the way of building up there. But the other thing that the state did is they increased the cap of allowable energy that a client can net meter, which is essentially how much power we can develop. That number is now significantly higher than what the entire county, what our entire county's energy load is. So in theory, we could, in collaboration with some other energy clients, offset everything by going into a partnership at a larger solar energy development site and offset everything. Of course, the gain is even better. In that case, there are some positives and negatives to both options that we're diving into. But it was pretty exciting to learn that, we feel like we have an obligation to do what we can for the sake of the planet, but now there also might be a real financial benefit to moving towards solar for us too. So we'll hopefully have a lot more information by March. We've only sort of started this last week, but I think that there could be a good potential for us to save some money and do some good at the same time.
Good. Steve?
Is there any restrictions in going into a project like this using public bonds?
So the option that looks to be the best for us is actually not to spend upfront money. The power purchase agreement works where the contractor owns the system, and we essentially pay for it in installments as part of our electricity bill. So they incorporate the cost of electricity, which they're generating, with the cost of the project, and month by month, we pay them back for it, and we're paying for our energy at the same time. So we don't have to come up with cash up front. We're basically replacing our energy provider with this solar installer, and we're buying our product over the course of, in this case, I think 20 years. So with the cross-insurance arena, if we did that project alone, the savings could be in the range of 20 to 30%. Which means we could pay it off faster if we wanted to. And then we own the solar array. We're making our own electricity. Savings are pretty significant at that point. If we went into a contract with some other commercial clients, that payoff is not available, that early payoff is not available, but our overall rate is lower. So I think that we would have to do some financial modeling, ultimately figure out what the best option is. But in both cases, it looks like it would be a benefit to us to pursue.
Anything on the legislative front that concerns us now, or?
Well, we're starting to get into the meat of it. There are a handful of bills, Commissioner Gordon, I'm sure, can talk about too, that the MCCA has flagged. Nothing yet that I'm particularly panicked about.
Okay.
They're moving very fast up there. I do think that they want to avoid getting hung up for a month on a handful of bills that they just are trying to get to some final solution on. So far, so good.
Okay, good. Barb, do you have anything to report for us? Okay, thank you very much. Comments from the county commissioners. Mr. Cloutier.
I don't have much, except for I was, with the rest of my family, present in the Cumberland County Civic Center a couple of times for a hockey game the last couple of weeks, and it's a pretty good-sized crowd. We actually won one of the games. We were kind of a contender in the other one.
We're at least on the ice, right? Yeah.
On the ice, all was well, and everybody seemed in good spirits at the end of the game. So, and it's anyone who has not been there since it was renovated, it is a vastly improved operation there. Yeah, I mean, it's much more comfortable. It feels safer, and so it's a good event.
Good. Commissioner Jamison.
Yeah, I have a few quick points. As you have heard before, our community development block grant, which is one of its own county of New England, where our 26 of our 28 communities have bonded together to obtain HUD funds, and then those HUD funds are divided up through a committee that's managed and composed of members from the different communities. So back, it might be 4 years ago, we made an investment through the Affordable Home Project through Habitat for Humanities in Scarborough for 13 homes, one of the larger Habitat for Humanity programs. And I'm happy to report that the 13th house now has been completed. The project is completed. We provided, I think it was $250,000 of infrastructure money up front, but it was nonetheless a great project for the community, and it was a good way that shows the use of our CBD dollars. Again and again, that program has done great things in our county communities over the last 12 years. As winter has returned in the vengeance, one of the chronic problems are families, particularly senior citizens without heat. I attended, or not enough resources to buy their own fuel. I attended a few rallies in Scarborough this weekend for our community, and we raised about $15,000. The point is that if there are such opportunities to point people who are less fortunate towards resources, Project Grace in the greater Scarborough area, there are other projects in other communities. There's also the LIHEAP program, but it's a real problem for our citizens through the winter. And so let's all be mindful of that. Lastly, the February tournaments actually for hockey have already started, and they're starting with a vengeance with basketball here this week and beyond, and track and field, etc. Will be going. So we want to wish all of our sports teams good luck, and remember that and get out to the Cross Insurance Arena to support them in the various games that are available, and it's a great opportunity to show sportsmanship for our youngsters and to support our teams. Thank you.
Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you. Travis did mention about some of the legislation, and there's a couple of issues that he did or didn't talk about. I mean, and a few of them, and I won't be specific here at this moment. The thought is that it probably won't pass because the state won't be able to fund it. I will say to the other commissioners here that at this MCCA meeting, there's going to be discussion of one county, one vote versus the increase in the dues. There was some thought that originally, or there is a thought that originally the way the organization was set up is that everybody had one vote and everybody paid the same amount. And they want to change that because the smaller counties don't believe that they can afford it. What the larger counties are beginning to ask is then we want greater representation. And when you think about it, almost half the population exists between York and Cumberland County for the whole state. And we do need to have a larger voice in some of the things and decisions they make. I wish to thank the manager and Dawn here about looking and to fill positions, because not only is it a matter of going out there and people are tired and so forth, it's a real quality of life issue for these guys and women. My hat's off to you, and anything you can do to support that, I really think that's a great thing. Neil mentioned a bit about helping with heat for people, and the other part of that, and I'm sure he didn't mean to leave it out, and I'm not saying that he did, but it's food pantry. It's a real struggle. There are a lot of people that are taking advantage of it. It surprises me every time I read a report on it, in that with this economy that we have, and people are just a dearth and trying to find somebody to serve, and yet we have those that just can't put food on the table. So anything you can do to help your local food pantry, please. It is well used, it's well taken care of, it's well monitored, and it really helps the community at large. With that, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Watonis.
Yeah, excuse me, I just have a couple of things. I would like to, first of all, thank the Sheriff's Office. They put on a 2-hour, the active shooter, that I attended to a couple of weeks ago at the Communication Center along with the EMA. And it was a topic that you really don't want to have to talk about, but it is a topic I think that everybody ought to at least be familiar with it, because it is going, to happen here in Maine at some point. The statistics that I saw with that was we are the only state that something has not happened in throughout the whole country, because they put up with a map and the state of Maine was completely blank. And that was because nothing here has ever happened. And it will happen sooner than later. So I would say, too, is people and the commissioners, if you have the opportunity, to go to something like that, it's really a good session to go to. And I'd also like to thank our Don and his staff for putting on the seminar that I did attend last week on the harassment. It had been a long time since I had been, because I've been out of the work world. And it was very informative, There was a good crowd there, and I would suggest if any of the towns, if you have employees, that need some of this with training, what to contact with the HR department here, what to see what's coming up, because that's what we're here for. And that's it.
Good, thank you very much. I have nothing further to add to this, to the comments here, but good comments all around. What I'm going to ask for now is a motion to go into executive session. For those of you at home watching the tape, we anticipate we will come out of executive session and adjourn without a vote or any further business. So your screen will go blank in a moment, and you can turn it off knowing that you're not missing anything. So could I have a motion?
We go into executive session pursuant to Section 405-6D, discuss collective bargaining negotiations and guidance.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous, and thank you very much.